decided today to stop, to end it with this. How can we help you personally to be a good teammate? Because, a team, well, you remember the definition, right? Talking about a team, two or more people who come together for a common purpose and are mutually accountable for results. And yeah, I think you all are seeing my screen okay, so you can see that. Just tell me if you can't, but I think we're okay. Remember that definition I told you from the beginning, I think is kind of tricky because, typically people think of a team as two or more people who come together. Okay, that's not so hard to buy for a common purpose. But the one that gets us is this part about being mutually accountable. And, in many of the sessions I've talked about, when we're talking about being mutually accountable, many times leaders think that they're accountable for everything and they don't really share that accountability with the team, and that causes issues. But today what we're talking about is every team member having a responsibility. That's mutual accountability. So even when things are difficult, when relationships are difficult, when people on the team seem difficult, when circumstances are difficult, when the mission is difficult, the purpose is difficult, you work to be the best team member that you can be. And that's what we're going to talk about today. And we're going to talk about it from that whole perspective of the 5 behaviors, from all the behaviors that we've been talking about in the whole series. We're going to kind of go through each one and talk about how you can be a better teammate, help your team advance towards that big goal that we're all looking for, which is results, right? The ultimate results. So the one thing that's interesting about this is that, I think in today's environment, sometimes team members change frequently, and that's a different dynamic. So we always have to be conscious of that. And plus, because of the very definition, we know that you're on more than one team, right? So it can be difficult from team to team. This is why it really helps us to focus on ourselves as teammates and think about what we can do to make it better for our team in any situation. So why are we even here? Why is this so important? Why have we even been talking about cohesive teams? And some of this will be a review from some of the things that we've seen when we talk about the 5 different parts of being a cohesive team. But what we're going to do is talk about each part and how you can be more effective as a teammate during that part. But remember, cohesive teams make better, faster decisions. They tap into skills and opinions of everybody. And we know that's sticky. They avoid wasting time and energy on politics, confusion, and destructive conflict. And you remember the whole session we had on conflict, we talked a lot about that. It creates a competitive advantage because when you have a well-running team, they are achieving results. And honestly, it's more fun. If you've ever been on a team where it's not fun, where you have teammates that are difficult, and maybe you're one of them and don't realize it, that's not a lot of fun. So it's actually a lot more fun to be on a cohesive team. And today we're going to focus, as I said, on how you can be a good teammate. You'll remember our model. This was our model that we've been using, that I'm licensed to provide and accredited in, the 5 behaviors of a cohesive team model, which has been derived from Patrick Lencioni's model, the 5 dysfunctions of a team. And you'll recall that the pyramid is there. Remember, we talked about the trust is on the bottom. That's the widest bar because everything builds on trust. So we're going to talk about each one of these and how you can be a better team member in each one of these so that your team can be cohesive. So let's talk about this. Your superpower. Everybody has one. What is your teamwork superpower? Because when you use your superpower productively, it makes you a better teammate and a better person. Now, here's the thing with a superpower. It can be used for good and it can be used for evil. So how are you using your superpower? The one thing that we've talked about over and over, and we have to continue to talk about, is that people are different. We have different personality styles. And thank goodness we do. Because with different personality styles comes different strengths from different people. We need that. We need a team where there are people who are different than us so that we're not all doing the same thing or not getting the ideas out there, and we're taking advantage of every possible strength that exists. That's why we need people who have different superpowers than our own. When I'm talking about superpowers, what am I talking about? I'm talking about things like this. Maybe your superpower is the ability to be candid when there's a problem. That really is a superpower. Not everybody feels comfortable speaking up when there's a problem and saying, time out, hold it, there's a problem here. Maybe that's your superpower. Maybe your superpower is that you're very good at offering support to your teammates, which is a wonderful thing. But for some people, that's not easy. That definitely would not be their superpower. And you probably know some people like that. Maybe your superpower is that you're the person who's always enthusiastic and optimistic, and you have all these great ideas, and it's very, very exciting. And we need people like that on our team, but not everybody has the ability to do that. As a matter of fact, some people are like, oh, they're taken aback by it because so much emotion and enthusiasm, and like, are you for real? I've had people ask me that. Are you faking that? It's like, you think I could fake this for this long? No. So maybe that's my superpower. Maybe it's yours. Maybe your superpower is that when things are tough, you have the ability to really push your team towards results. That's a great superpower, because how many teams have you been on where it seems like you're just going in circles? You go to meeting after meeting and you're not really getting anywhere. And if you have that person whose superpower is to push us towards results and get us where we need to go, that's a great strength. That's a great superpower. But not everybody can do that. Some people shy away from it. Some people are a little bit intimidated by it. But thank goodness we have people who push us towards results. So that's a superpower. Maybe your superpower is you have the ability to give people space when they need it. For me, it's like when I'm in a team meeting where we're trying to get to something, I want to get there, But sometimes there are people on my team whose superpower is that they are reflective and they think about things from a perspective that I don't. Like, I'm in a hurry to get through it. I want to take action. I want to move on. But they're thinking, but wait, how does that impact this? And how does that impact that? That's a great superpower. I'm so excited when I have somebody like that on my team, even though it takes a little patience from me, but they think through things from a really deep perspective than sometimes I'm capable of, because I want to, get to the end result. So that's a superpower. So as you can see, there are all kinds of superpowers, and to be a good teammate, the first thing you can do for yourself is identify what is your superpower. And then you've got to learn how to use it for good, not evil, like I said, because a superpower that's used the wrong way can be destructive. And we're going to hear about some of those today, okay? We'll learn how to use our superpowers. You recall that we've talked about personality. Everybody has one. We all have a personality. And we've been talking about the differences in personality and the differences in people. I talk about this all the time, like in almost everything I do, because I'm all about the people side of leadership. That's my specialty. And I really believe that we all have personalities, and understanding the different personalities and the natural behavioral tendencies that we have because of those personalities is really critical. Sometimes people take things personally. When someone is really reflective and they are not quick to join in, it's like they don't like me. And it has nothing to do with that. It's just a different personality style. So that's why I always like to talk about personalities and just make sure that we understand with these different personality styles comes different superpowers, right? Different strengths. I talk about DISC. We've talked about it before. DISC is a matter of two questions. And I want to revisit this right here for a minute, because we're talking about your superpower, and we're also talking about the superpower that your team members have. So here are two questions to ask to figure it out. Think of somebody right now on your team who maybe they're difficult for you, or maybe it's your favorite person on the team. Just think about that person, kind of get it in your mind. And here are the two questions. First question I want you to ask yourself is, are they active or thoughtful? Active. They talk kind of fast, like I talk kind of fast, whereas thoughtful people usually will sometimes show a little more hesitation as they speak. It's like you can almost kind of hear them thinking through things as they're talking. They just want to make sure they say it right. So are they very active? Are they fast-paced, assertive, bold, dynamic? Or is this person maybe more thoughtful and reflective, more moderately paced, calm, methodical, and careful? So think about that about this person on your team. Where do they belong? Active and thoughtful. Oh, and while you're at it, let's think about you. Are you more active or thoughtful? And it might be interesting to think about this person if you chose someone that's kind of difficult for you. Are they opposite of you? Maybe you're active and they're thoughtful, or vice versa. Or are they the same and they drive you crazy because they get in your space? I don't know. Question number 2, are they questioning or accepting? Questioning, logic focused, objective, skeptical, challenging. They want to ask questions. They're not just going to take your word for it. They're going to challenge it. They're going to look for the other side of it. They're naturally like trying to say, well, what would be the negative in this? And how would this affect this? And how will this happen? So they're more questioning of things. These people are more logic focused, where the accepting side is more people focused. They tend to believe it'll work out. If we just give it some time here and some thought, we can work this out. So they're more people focused. They're empathetic. They're more agreeable. They just kind of want to naturally believe that things are going to work out. Whereas the questioning person wants to ask questions about it and challenge it more. So what about this person? Questioning, accepting, which one? And what about you? Because see, what we're getting to here is which one is your superpower. I mean, if you're questioning, that's a great superpower, because you're going to help your team to look at things through a logic lens. You're going to be able to see a bigger picture than what they're looking at. Maybe you're going to be able to help them to really question, ask the right questions, to look for things that might get in your way. If you're the accepting person, that's a great strength because you're going to be very positive about things. You're going to look for ways to make it work, and you're going to see the people side of it. So whichever one you are, it's good. There's no good or bad style. There is no good or bad style. They're all very important. So this is DISC, and this might help you when you put this together to understand there's 4 quadrants. You have your people who are active and at the same time questioning, right? You also have people who are more thoughtful and at the same time questioning. You have people who are active and at the same time accepting. And you have people who are thoughtful and at the same time accepting. And this is really what DISC is. This is the whole DISC theory. We have the 4 styles, the D, the I, the C, and the S. Now, if you've never taken a DISC assessment or some kind of personality assessment, to be able to take a look at your strengths and your challenges as a person on a team or in other relationships, I would strongly encourage you to do it. It would be a great action step for you to take on your own. The good news is, like this, I have a thing up here where you can go to the site, or you can use your camera and capture the code and go directly to the site. You can take a DISC profile. I can offer you one. It has 24 pages of information about you. It tells you your motivators. It tells you what challenges you. It tells you what your strengths are. And it helps you to understand yourself and all the people around you by asking those 2 questions. So if you haven't done this, I really encourage it. When we're talking about how to be a better teammate, the number 1 thing that you could do for your team, know thyself. Understand yourself so that you can understand the differences in people around you and how to work with that. That's the number 1 thing you can do, is understand yourself, understand your own style. Because what we really want you to be able to do as a teammate is learn how to flex your style. Flexing your style means I meet you halfway or wherever along the way I need to. So I'm someone who's very direct, results driven. I want to get this done. I want to move on. You're someone who's more reflective and needs some time to think about it. Does that drive me crazy? It drives me crazy. How long are we going to think about this before we do something? On the other hand, you're going, this drives me crazy. Does she think of nothing? Is she looking at the details before we move forward? Doesn't she take time to think this through? And see, that can be very destructive unless we learn to meet in the middle. And I teach this person who's maybe a little more reflective to be a little faster to act. And this person who is more reflective teaches me to be a little slower to react, right? So that's what flexing your style is all about. So that's what we want to do, is learn how to flex our styles with other people so that we can all use our superpowers for good. If we can do that, if we can learn about others, understand ourselves, and flex our styles, then our interactions with everyone will improve, guaranteed. Why? Because we have trust, right? People around you will be more receptive. They know that you're trying to meet them in the middle. You'll have a better chance at open discussions. It'll improve your work life, even your personal life, to think in this way. And in fact, I think it could actually change the world. Yes, I do. I believe that. I believe it could change the world. So let's consider how your style might be getting in the way of behaviors that produce a high-performing, cohesive team. Now, let me qualify this, because when I wrote this, let's consider how your style might be getting in the way of behaviors that produce a high-performing, cohesive team. It makes it sound like your style is bad. Your style is getting in the way. And again, I want to reiterate, there is no bad style, okay? Everybody's style is good. Everybody has strengths that come with their style, with their personality, and everybody has things that are maybe challenges, and that's okay. There's no good or bad here. But no matter what your superpower is, there are times when that's going to create challenges for your team if it's not used the right way. So that's what we're going to talk about. So I don't mean this to sound negative, because there's no negative here. Your style is your style, and it's all good. That's what we want. Okay, so when we talked about the 5 behaviors of a team, we started with trust, and you'll remember this. Teams that lack trust spend a crazy amount of time and energy managing behaviors and interactions that make team meetings dreadful and political and low morale. Yeah. So what we're looking for here with trust is confidence among team members that peers' intentions are good. I really believe you're trying to do the right thing, and that there is no reason to be protective or careful around the group. Now, you want to be a teammate. First thing I want to ask you is, how do you feel about this? I mean, confidence among team members that their peers' intentions are good. Do you have that confidence that your peers' intentions are good? Because the minute you start looking around and saying, well, not that person, we got a problem with trust right there. So this is why we have to continuously work on trust. So if you're a team member and there are personality styles that are more skeptical and have a little more trouble with this trust thing than those that are accepting, it's not a bad thing for you. It's just something you need to be aware of, be able to work on, to build that trust, to do what you need to help you trust your teammates so that you can work effectively in this way. And remember, this is vulnerability-based trust. It's not predictive trust. Predictive trust is when I say, hey, I'm doing a webinar at noon and I can predict, that Kristen will always be there on time. That's predictive trust. That's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about team members comfortably and quickly acknowledge without provocation mistakes, weaknesses, failures, and needs for help, while recognizing the strengths of others, even when their strengths exceed their own. That's what we're talking about here with vulnerability-based trust. Let me try a scenario with you. This is a scenario. We know that some people are able to speak up and feel confident, others aren't. So let's try this scenario. And you don't even have to tell anybody. You don't even have to put it in chat. Just look at this and let's think what you would do. Okay, this is a trust scenario. You present a proposal during a team meeting, and one colleague immediately dismisses your idea. You can't think of any practical reasons for the teammates' opposition. You begin to wonder whether they have something against you personally. This is a little bit close to home, isn't it? What would you do next? Okay, so would you, A, shrug off this instant, but expect that they might not be on your side going forward? You know what's going to happen with that long term. That's probably not going to be a good thing in the long term. So Let's see, pull them aside and request an explanation of their response to your proposal. Whew, that's a little risky, but I suppose that's something we could do. Let's see. C, ask a second trusted teammate if they notice the same thing you did and get their advice. Yeah, I like that. But gee, that's kind of gossipy, isn't it? Yeah, I'm afraid so. So the answer here, which one would you do? The best thing would be to pull them aside and request an explanation of their response, because you don't want to fester this for the long term. And if you talk to your teammate directly, this allows you to stay on the same page. They may present some reasoning that hadn't occurred to you, or maybe even discover a difference in approach or communication style that you can talk through, which would be great. This is how a good teammate would respond. This would be the best response. This is how a good person would respond as well. So pull them aside, request an explanation of their proposal, of their response to your proposal. And as you're doing this, an interesting thing will happen. You're having dialogue, you're having conversation, and trust will increase because you'll find out where they came from and most likely find out it's not personal. It's them using their superpower in a destructive way. So to be a good teammate, sometimes we have to call people out on these things and talk to them so that we can resolve it for the team. Trust tendencies, which are most important for you. Now, these are the tendencies of trust that are most important for all styles. Okay, so when you look at these, I think maybe the best way to explain this to you is to talk through it for me. Talk about being vulnerable. I'm going to talk through it from my perspective. Okay, but follow me to see if you can kind of figure out which one of these you think is most important for you. Okay, because these are all trust tendencies. So the first thing is getting to know teammates. All right, that's important to me. I want to know my teammates, but honestly, if we have to make a decision right now and it's something really big and important, and that's why we're here, is to make this decision, that's probably not the most important thing to me. The most important thing to me is to get results and to get to a good answer and be able to move forward on this. So it's important, but it's probably not the most important. I know there are some styles where that probably is the most important, and that's their superpower, and that's cool. But for me, that's probably not the most. Knowing mistakes are forgiven. I think that's important. Is it the most important for me? No. And here's why, because I know there are some styles that worry about making mistakes. And when they know that we'll forgive mistakes, they'll be more willing to speak out. But I'm willing to speak out anyway, because that's my style. So I think it's important, but probably for me, not the most important. I hope this has helped me so you can kind of see where you fit. A lack of chaos and drama. I know that can be important, but honestly, I kind of like chaos and drama. It's kind of fun. So that's probably not the most important because I don't need it, but it doesn't scare me either. So, okay, no. Knowing people will be direct. Now that's important to me. You see, what I worry about is like leaving a meeting after making a decision and then learning that someone didn't say something that was important during that meeting. Like I hear it through the grapevine or I hear it somewhere else. And then I start to wonder, was that personal? Why weren't they direct about that in the meeting? Or why did they hold that back when that could have been really important information for the team in making this decision? That really bothers me. So that was pretty important. So far, I think that's number one for me, knowing that people will be direct. Let's see, having space. Okay, I know that there are people on my team that need space. They need time to think about things. And I try to do that by sometimes instead of making a decision right away, even though I want to push ahead and get this thing done, I'll say, let's meet again this afternoon after lunch and make our final decision so that the people who need to have that space, that time to think about things, to reflect before we move forward, they get that. It's definitely not the most important for me, but I do recognize that it's important for some of my team members. Okay, people who offer support. I like support I like to be supported. Same with the next one. I like empathetic people, and I like warmth. But in the heat of making a decision, probably neither one of those are the most important to me. They're important, but not the most. So I'm going to have to go, for me, the most important is knowing people will be direct. That's for me. Why am I telling you all this? Because what I want you to see is that for everyone on the call, everyone that listens to this, everyone that's on a team, our answers are going to be different on this. And that's where our superpowers come from, because we do have different answers, you see. For some, if we put these things all together, we've got the best of the best. And that's what we're hoping for. If we can put all these things together, then we'll get the best of the best. But know that it's different for every person. And to be respectful of that, not critical. It's like if someone needs time to reflect, I need to give them that. And not criticize them because they need some time to reflect. Or if it really bothers somebody that things get kind of chaotic and there's some drama in there, if it really bothers them, I need to do my best to make sure that that doesn't hamper the process for getting to where we need to go. But for me, it doesn't bother me, but there are some people that are really upset by that. You see what I'm saying? So if you're going to be a better teammate, you got to figure out which of these things is most important to you, recognizing that you have teammates who have different opinions on what's most important, and being able to meet them somewhere in the middle, somewhere halfway, somewhere is what's really important here. So I hope that makes sense to you. Okay, that's trust. Now, we also talked about mastering conflict, and we did an entire session on conflict. When there's trust, team members are able to engage in unfiltered, constructive debate. You'll recall that we talked about a team that has trust. They've built trust. Now we can openly express our opinions and ideas without, feeling worried that somebody's going to make fun of us or, think we're coming from the wrong place, because we openly trust. We talked about productive conflict, debate that is focused on concepts and ideas and avoids mean-spirited personal attacks. All right, so let's get personal for a minute. You as an individual, looking at your style, here's what we know. We know that there's a continuum. We have some people who are spirited debaters. Give me a good debate and I'm all in. Yeah, I admit that's probably me. Expressive, show conviction during debate. But there are other people at the other end of the continuum who are calm. They tend to use measured dialogue, and they remain largely unruffled. So 2 questions here. First thing is, how do you show disagreement? When you're in a situation where we're debating an issue, how do you show disagreement? Now, me being a spirited debater, being expressive, I'm probably going to say, I don't agree with that. But maybe you're the calm debater and you tend to use measured dialogue. So probably your reaction, if you're all the way down on that end of the continuum, is going to be silence. Just let it be. Accept that we'll work it out, right? That often happens for calm debaters. They just go quiet. So which one are you? If you look at those 2 continuums, where do you fit? And then how do you feel when it gets tense? So the spirited debater, like me, how do I feel? Well, it's kind of exciting. I like a good debate, it's kind of exciting. Yeah, it was cool. We're into this now. We're gonna get through this, so we're gonna learn a lot because everybody's into it, so I kind of like it. Some people who are more calm, they tend to clam up. They don't want to participate. They're not so comfortable with conflict. So a lot of times they'll just go really quiet on us and maybe even withdraw. So where are you on this continuum? You're maybe not at one extreme or the other. Maybe you're not totally all the way down at the end of calm. Maybe you're not totally all the way down at the end of spirited. You might be somewhere in the middle. And the important thing to remember here is, so are your teammates. They're somewhere on this continuum. So if I'm a spirited debater who's all into it, and I'm going to be a good teammate, I've got to slow down and say, hey, Jennifer, you haven't said anything, and I've been making this argument, and I realize maybe I'm getting carried away. What do you think? So I'm going to go down to my people who are further down on the continuum, try to move in their direction and say, what do you think? And those people that are calm debaters who tend to, clam up when this happens, and sometimes even that can turn to resentment because they feel like nobody cares, we got to call them out. But if you are that calm debater, make an effort to move this way on the continuum and be able to say, hold on, I do have an opinion on this, and just take your time to express it and hope that your team will be with you as you express it. So we've got to work from both ends of this thing to try to meet somewhere in the middle so that we can get everything on the table and have good, productive conflict, good, productive debate. So wherever you are on the continuum, and this kind of shows you that, which resonates with you. Now, maybe you're somewhere here, like you're spirited, but you're a little more towards calm, and it's hard to tell when people disagree, or maybe you're more spirited and people more easily misread your real intentions. I feel like that happens to me sometimes because I don't have time to explain it. I'm too busy debating, too tempting to move ahead without having alignment. Whereas our calm debaters, they can't read nonverbals well. It's harder to jump in with their opinions, and they have fewer informal conversations about issues. So where are you? How does this resonate for you? You're going to be a good teammate. You got to figure out where you are, figure out where your teammates are, and work really hard to bring that together so that you both get a healthy debate going here and get the opinions on the table. So how do you respond during conflict? Are you receptive or are you steadfast? Again, this is very personal. Are you always open to the ideas of others, or do you hold firm to your own opinions? No matter which end you're on, the goal is to come somewhere to the middle so that we can meet it both ways. Someone who holds very firm to their own opinions isn't really open to other ideas. They just want to move forward. A lot of times people who are very driven, they want to go fast, they want to take action, and they feel so sure they just want to go. But they have to come back in that continuum and talk to the people who have other ideas and make sure they get that. People who are receptive, you're open to ideas of others, that's fantastic. But not if you stay there all the time. You want to be a good teammate? Sometimes you got to step up and challenge and say, that's cool, that's interesting, I like that idea. I have a couple of ideas too, and be willing to tell people what those are. So it's putting yourself out there, whichever end you're on, being able to draw back a little bit and make sure that you're getting all of your teammates' opinions or getting them to listen to you, whichever it may be. Move along the continuum even when it's uncomfortable to try to meet your teammates in the middle. So with all of this, what can you do to master conflict? Well, I've talked a lot about that already. I think I'm showing, talking to you personally, trying to meet the needs of your coworkers or your other folks. They have different powers than you, and trying to meet somewhere in the middle. So just a couple of tips though. I think one of the big things is just encouraging team members to voice their opinions, even at the risk of causing disagreement. So make sure that everybody has a voice and ask for their opinions. And if someone is dominating, having the courage to say, excuse me, that's cool. I'd like to hear from somebody else too, though. What's everybody else thinking, to stop it and get everybody involved in it. Make it really common practice during your meetings to ask the opinion of everybody, just routinely, no matter what the discussion. Never end the discussion without making sure that everybody on the team has been called on to voice their opinion. That's something you can do as a good teammate. Don't let that get away from you. And watch the nonverbals, because people will give you a lot of information through their nonverbals sometimes. And another thing that I would recommend for a team, and this works, whether you're doing a virtual team or whether you're, face-to-face, all of these tips work. One thing I would really recommend is that your team has, I call it the talk, some ground rules for how team meetings should go, and how you should handle these things when you disagree. How are you going to make sure that you call on everyone? What are you going to do if someone's dominating the conversation? It'd be really nice to have some discussions about that before it becomes reality. You know, like if you have one person on your team who's really dominating discussion, if you could have those discussions in a non-threatening way of how you're going to handle it, then it's not personal. It's just the way we handle things. So I think it's a good idea just to have a talk about how you're going to handle these kind of things on your team to make everybody have the option of being good teammates and using their superpowers for good. We talked in this session too, in this series, about commitment. Cohesive team members understand and believe in the mission, and they're committed to making it happen. When team members are able to offer opinions and debate ideas, they'll be able to more easily commit. So here's a quiz for you. When it comes to commitment, which of the following behaviors do you think is most problematic? Let me give you just a second to look at that. Which one do you think is most problematic? Well, if you've read through it, you're probably going, I don't know. The truth is, there's no right answer. Sorry, had to do that to you at least once. There's no right answer here. Which of the following behaviors do you think is most problematic? We see all of these things, and they're all very scary and problematic. People refusing to commit to a decision they don't agree with. People committing to a decision, but then they go and do it their own way, whatever suits them. Or people commit on the surface, and then they drag their feet on it, or maybe even sabotage. People commit to it, but afterwards they go out there and say, that's the stupidest thing I ever heard. I don't want to do. Right? So these are all problematic behaviors. The thing that bothers me a little bit about this is that I think probably most of us have engaged in at least one of them. You know, so if we want to be a good teammate, we need to recognize that these kind of behaviors are very destructive to teams, and that's not something we should be doing as a teammate. We're going to play a little game now called Go Get It or Get Over It. So here's how this works. Imagine that your team has just decided on the direction of its next project. And we're going to look at some series of possible concerns here that you might have about the decision. And then you're going to determine whether you should speak up about it, like go get it, or whether you should just get over it. Because there's a time when you need to step up and say, wait. And there's a time when you need to say, hey, this is me. I just need to get over it. So these are the questions. You ready? This should be fun. All right. So here's the first one. I'm not sure who's responsible for moving the project forward. We're done. We had the meeting. We've agreed on the project. We've made a decision. But now that I think about it, I'm not really sure who's taking the first step. Who's taking the next step? What happens next? I feel uncertain. Maybe I just didn't hear it. Maybe I just misunderstood. So what do you think I should do? Should I just go get it? Should I go and check with the team and find out? Or should I just sit back and get over this because it'll surface, right? Well, hopefully you said, this is one I better go get. All team members should have an understanding of the assignments that come out of any team decision. So speak up to make sure there is clarity on your team. That's one you would go get. How about this one? I still think the idea that I proposed is better than the one the team chose. Go get it or get over it. What do you think? Go get it? Should you pursue it? Go back in that next meeting and say, wait, my idea is better, or you get over it because the team chose this other idea. And the answer here is, yeah, we need to get over it. Once the team has considered its options and you spoke up during that team meeting, right? Because you're a good teammate, you spoke up, you offered your opinion, you offered your idea, and the team chose this other one, then you need to get over it because everyone has committed to this. Regardless of how we felt during the debate, this was our decision as a team. You had your time to speak up, and now you need to get over it. You're a good teammate, right? The decision was made before most of my teammates had the chance to weigh in. Ooh, this is a tough one because sometimes, we have these mandatory meetings, like we talked about last week, and several members of the team can't make it, and we make a decision. So we've made a decision, but many of our teammates didn't have a chance to weigh in. Well, do we just get over this because, we had the meeting, they didn't make it, so we made a decision? Or is this something you need to pursue? Is this something that you need to go get? What do you think? A good teammate would go after this one, go get it. Because if you're making a major decision for the team and not all the team members have had an opportunity to participate, that's going to undermine your ability to get commitment. And we know that if we don't have commitment, we're in trouble. So being a good teammate, you're going to have to be the one that speaks up and says, wait, I know that we made this decision, but we shouldn't be making this decision because half of the team is not here. They haven't had an opportunity to give input. So you have to be the person who speaks up on this one. So on that one, go get it. How effective is your team at gaining buy-in? And what can you do to improve commitment? You can make sure that your team is really clear on purpose and goals. And if there's any feeling on your part that it's not clear, not just in your mind, but if you can see it in the nonverbals, if you can see it around the table, being a good teammate, you need to go back and make sure that's clear. Go get it. Make sure that we're clear on our purpose and goals. And work towards commitment. We talked a couple of times about how to get consensus. Let's make sure that we're doing that right so that everybody has a voice, everybody is able to express their opinion. Like we said, you can't expect me to buy in if I haven't had an opportunity to weigh in, right? Having dialogue, not just conversation, but dialogue where everybody shares their opinion and everybody is a part of the discussion. And another thing that you can do to be a good teammate is to be that source of inspiration for your teammates. It's a tough world out there, and sometimes it's hard to keep morale up, but being that person who, goes in and says, hey, we made this decision. We all felt good about it. Yeah, it's tough right now, but let's talk about what we can do, to keep moving forward and be that source of inspiration and motivation for others. That's a great thing to do as a teammate. But you know what? Not everybody is good at that. We have some personality styles who just aren't great at that. But if that's one of your superpowers, you can do a lot of good to use that in a good way for your team. All right, so that's commitment. Now we have to talk about accountability, which is also part of our model here. Team members are accountable to each other. They hold one another accountable. Remember this whole idea of peer accountability. Team members have to be willing to call one another out on behavior or performance that hurts the team. That's not easy for some of us either. But members of great teams improve their relationships by holding each other accountable and demonstrating that they respect each other and that they have high expectations for performance. And when everyone is committed to the same goals and the same purpose and they have clear actions, then the team understands where it's going, what everyone's doing, and what's expected of each team member. So it becomes really easy to hold others accountable. The one thing we know is that if the team lead is not willing to hold people accountable, this may not work. But if we've done a good job of getting commitment, of getting consensus and getting everyone on the same page, then it's a lot easier for us, even for those of us who this is not natural in our personality style, to be able to go to Shannon and say, Shannon, as you'll recall, I'm supposed to do step 3 on this, and you're doing step 2, and that was supposed to be finished 2 days ago. I haven't seen that yet. Did I miss it? What's up? And have Shannon say, oh, I'm stuck, and then being able to say, where are you stuck? How can I help? And then go to Elizabeth and say, Elizabeth, Shannon's stuck. We need help. so that we can continue to move this project forward. You'll be able to engage in peer accountability instead of becoming tattletales and going to the boss and saying, hey, Shannon didn't do hers on time. And Elizabeth won't help. Right? So in holding others accountable, here's a couple of personal things to look at. There are some styles. There are some people in this world who are very good at addressing problems, and that's their style. If there's a problem, they're going to hit it head on. They're going to be direct. While other people work really hard to keep the peace. And honestly, who doesn't want to work in a harmonious environment? You know, even the strongest styles like a harmonious environment. You know, we don't want turmoil and infighting and all those awful things that you've seen and experienced. You know, we want it to be peaceful. But the truth is, if we don't address the problems, we create much bigger problems for ourselves. Do you know that the #1 demotivator in the United States, in survey after survey, poll after poll, book after book, research report after research report, the #1 demotivator is that my boss allows others to perform below standard. My boss allows other people to perform below standard. I'm working my tail off and my boss isn't doing anything about it. They tolerate poor performance. That's a complete problem with addressing problems. That's what that is. It's hard to address problems because it's hard, you know, to hit those things head on, problems, poor performance, whatever it is. But you can see how peer accountability will help with this, because addressing problems is not all on the leader anymore. We are mutually accountable, and therefore we help each other to solve these problems. Keeping the peace is nice, but not when it comes to not solving problems or addressing problems at all. And even if your skill is in addressing problems, there's a time when you need to lay back a little bit before you jump in. Like, make sure you get all the facts before you do that, right? So again, it's about understanding what your style is and knowing how to flex along that continuum, right? Another one here is this one. And for you, where do you fall? Some people are very attentive to feelings, and some people stick to logic. Now, whatever your style is, some of you have a real superpower in that you're very attentive to feelings. And you know, it's interesting because I've told you, you know, I'm more that direct person, outspoken, but I am very attentive to feelings. And I really watch that. And I don't want people to feel bad. I don't want them to feel left out. You know, I really watch for that. And I worry, you know, I worry if I feel like someone's left out or someone was offended, maybe a little too much. And sometimes I have to really work on myself to move myself towards that logic part of the continuum where I'm saying, let me think about this logically. For me, what works to help me with that is to have a direct conversation with someone if I feel like they've been left out or if they're not receiving things well, if they're not happy, you know, then I usually have to have a direct conversation because it relieves me, you know, and it helps me to feel better. Some people, though, are so stuck in logic that they don't even think to consider the feelings of others. And I've known some people like that. You probably have too, and it's kind of rough. And you know which way you kind of tend to fall. If you're a little bit too far this way or a little bit too far that way, you want to be a good teammate. This is what we're talking about, is being able to bring it in and be attentive to feelings, but also know where the logic is and not go too far the other way or lose sight of what we're doing because you're so attentive to feelings that you're not getting results, right? Or you're so deep into logic that you don't consider the feelings of others. So again, where do you fall when it comes to holding others accountable? Want to be a good teammate? We got to figure out where we are, look at those around us, and try to meet somewhere in the middle. People are all along these two continuums. So where do you fall? Where do you fall? And finally, in our model, we talked about results. Team members focus on team results and put the needs of the team above their own. The achievement of results is the ultimate goal, and collective results is the top priority. Well, you know, that is the truth of it, isn't it? Really, all of this is about achieving great results. All of this. So it's something we need to work on. If we've done all this work and spent all this time and effort and we don't actually accomplish a goal, or we're kind of spinning our wheels, then what was the point of all of that? So it really is about getting results. And what we're talking about here is collective results. The ultimate goal of building greater trust, healthy conflict, commitment, and accountability is one thing: the achievement of results, right? So to help you in being a team member, a better team member here, I have one question for you, and that is, do you put the needs of the team first? For you, is it all about we, or is it all about me? Which one? You know, what we're talking about here is you get up in the morning, you have a little headache, you decide you better go back to bed, and you call in sick. And you're up by 10 o'clock, cleaning your house and making a wonderful dinner while your team suffers for your absence, right? Or do you wake up, take a couple of Advil and say, you know, I got to go to work because my team needs me today. And you go to work, you know. What are you doing for the team? 5 o'clock, someone walks up to the door. You're just leaving. You're done for the day. This isn't even your customer. This belongs to somebody else. This isn't even your problem, not even your department. So do you say, this is not even my problem, not even my department. Sorry, we're closed. Come back tomorrow. Or do you say, this might help out my team if I can just take care of this. And you stop outside the door and say, so how can I help you? What's up? And see what you can do without just turning the person away. You know, that's the difference. So if you want to be a good teammate, you got to think about your whole team. It's all of us. It's all of us together to get those collective results. Synergy, right? It's not about me. It's about we. So how are you doing with that? Do you put the needs of the team first? That's the question. So those are 5 behaviors: trust, conflict, commitment, accountability, and results. And you can see, hopefully, a lot of things that you can do to be a better teammate to help your team through these 5 behaviors to achieve those amazing results that we're really hoping for your team, to meet your goals, to exceed your goals, and to have like the ultimate performance and a little more fun when you're on a team where you're cohesive and things. It's fun to complete projects instead of dreadful. So let me stop and ask what questions you have. I haven't been looking at the chat. Jennifer, are you there? Are there any questions out there? And it's fine. We don't have too many people on. If anybody wants to open their mic, open their camera, whatever you want to do, or put a question in chat, I'm really open to that. So what are you thinking right now? Give me some feedback. You guys out there?
Just reflecting on the various teams I've been on, and yes, I would like to be on healthier teams in future, or for there to be that greater understanding of what the ground rules are and, you know, what we're meant to be focused on. So I've had problems in the past with the team leader or the boss not holding everybody, being accountable, and to quote you, and I'm working my tail off and they won't do anything about it. So.
Right. Yeah. Elizabeth, I feel your pain. It's so hard too, you know, you don't know what to do. So I hope that you now have some ideas that you can try. You know, one of the best things, Elizabeth, if you, and I'm not saying that you're in this situation right now, I don't know, but one thing I find really helpful to a lot of people who come through my sessions is to go back to their boss after they've done one of these things and say, boss, I just listened to the most amazing webinar. I just went to the most amazing class. I'd love to share with you some of the things we learned. And some folks that have been through some of my sessions have had some real luck with that, because the boss will listen to what they have to say, and it's made a difference. So that's an idea for you. But Elizabeth, the thing that, you know, I'm trying to emphasize here, and I think I'm hearing you understand, is it's all of us together. You know, we can't just put the responsibility just on one person. We're mutually accountable for results. So we can't just sit back and expect somebody else to take care of it. Let me see, I see something in chat. Let me check and see what I have in chat. Oh, this is going to be great. Oh, thank you. This has been great. Gonna miss you. Thank you, Shannon. Appreciate that. Okay, you guys know I'm always open for questions. So even if you don't want to ask here today, feel free to send me an email afterwards or get in touch with me in any way. But the important thing is with all of this is that you take action. You take action. You do something about what you've learned here. So what is your superpower? What is your superpower on the team? And how can you use that? And don't forget that while you may have this superpower, these folks have different superpowers. We put all those superpowers together. There's no stopping us, no stopping us. Again, here's your link for taking a disc assessment if you would like to. And it's really been my pleasure to be with you. I thank everybody. This is my email address at the bottom, lkibbe@lkibbe.com. All the recordings are available on YouTube, and Jennifer can share that information with us. And any other questions or discussion? Thank you, Elizabeth. Thank you, Shannon. That's cute. Thanks, guys. All right. Well, have a wonderful week.